Welcome to the debate. When a state runs an election, we generally think of it as a local matter, right? Like a neighborhood polling place or the county clerk processing ballots.
Yeah, it's traditionally a highly localized process.
Right. But yesterday, a local Los Angeles ballot ledger was suddenly audited by the federal government. A top federal prosecutor declared that multiple election fraud investigations are actually underway in California. They sent a federal agent straight into a ballot processing center.
It's a massive shift. So today, we are examining this exact tension surrounding First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asali and Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon's probes. The big question we're looking at is, do these represent a necessary enforcement of federal civil rights or, well, an unwarranted overreach?
If you enjoy content like this, please take a moment to like, subscribe, follow, and turn on notifications so you'll always know when new content is released. As a quick update, we continue to monitor the Martin Stevens v. OpenAI matter. It is important to note that this is still not a lawsuit. We remain in a voluntary quiet period at the request of Martin Stevens to allow time for any potential developments behind the scenes. At the time of this recording, we do not know whether any progress has been made. No settlement discussions or negotiations have been publicly confirmed. We can also report that the dead man switch has not been activated, meaning Martin Stevens remains safe from both a physical and legal standpoint. We will provide updates if circumstances change. Let's get right into the core of today's argument. I look at this California situation and I see a universal mail-in voting system with genuine structural vulnerabilities. It practically invites federal intervention to verify voter eligibility.
And I look at California's election systems and see, honestly, incredibly robust, layered security measures. To me, these federal probes are an invasive overreach. They seem built on political narratives rather than, factual evidence of widespread fraud.
Well, we really can't ignore the legal reality here. The federal government has a clear statutory mandate to ensure the integrity of federal elections.
Right, you're talking about the NVRA.
The National Voter Registration Act, yes, and the Help America Vote Act, or HAVA. Together, these frameworks don't just suggest, they legally require states to maintain accurate, updated voter lists.
They do.
And they give the Department of Justice the teeth to audit those lists. So when you have a universal vote-by-mail system and no voter ID requirement, you're creating conditions where fraud can easily go undetected.
But California is already complying with the list maintenance requirements of the NVRA and HAVA.
Are they, though?
They are. They routinely remove deceased or ineligible voters using cross-reference data from the Department of Public Health. Harmeet Dillon's current lawsuit before the Ninth Circuit, the one trying to force California to hand over its roles, it completely ignores the fact that the state has existing, highly regulated compliance frameworks. You're treating the state as if it's hiding something.
Well, think of the supremacy clause here not as a hostile takeover, but like a federal bank examiner looking at a local branch's books.
A bank examiner. Okay.
Central authority has a constitutional right to ensure the ledger actually balances. Dillon is operating strictly within the bounds of a May 2026 DOJ memorandum opinion.
Which concludes the Civil Rights Act grants sweeping authority to demand voter lists, right?
Exactly, preempting state privacy laws entirely.
I understand the bank examiner analogy, but your examiner is showing up and declaring the bank insolvent before even looking at the security cameras. You say there are structural vulnerabilities, but let's break down what that actually means in practice.
I'll tell you exactly what it means. When a ballot is cast in person, the chain of custody is a straight line, from the poll worker directly into the ballot box.
Sure.
With universal mail-in voting, that ballot sits in a residential mailbox. It travels through a postal sorting facility. It relies entirely on back-end signature matching to verify the human attached to it. The physical chain of custody is fundamentally loosened.
But we have to look at how that back end actually functions.
Wait, let me just finish this point. We have concrete evidence of this vulnerability being exploited, like the recent case of a Marina Del Rey woman charged with paying homeless individuals on Skid Row to register to vote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why Asali sent a federal prosecutor directly to the LA County Ballot Processing Center. It's proactive verification.
Wait, let me stop you right there. You bring up the Skid Row case, but that's exactly the point I'm making. The state itself caught that.
Well,
No, really, you're demanding federal intervention for an issue the local system successfully identified and prosecuted. And as for the loosened chain of custody, you have to understand how the back-end signature matching actually works. California isn't just waving these ballots through.
They certainly take their time.
Exactly. The reason vote counts take days or weeks, which critics often point to as suspicious, is precisely because they are meticulously verifying those signatures against DMV and voter registration records.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying the slow count isn't a bug, it's a feature?
It is absolutely a feature.
Walk me through how changing vote totals actually proves the system is working rather than failing.
Well, it's a feature of a high-integrity system. Under California law, mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day are legally valid if they arrive within a 7-day grace period.
Right, the late arrivals.
Yes.
When election officials process these late-arriving ballots, they don't just dump them in a pile. They have to physically inspect envelopes. They run those rigorous signature verifications we just talked about.
I mean, they're supposed to.
They do. And they check provisional ballots to ensure no one voted twice. The totals change because the state is doing the tedious, legally mandated work of verifying every single piece of paper. Conflating this routine process with deliberate, coordinated fraud is, honestly, dangerous.
But widespread fraud is precisely what these investigations are attempting to measure and prevent. Even if you believe the state's procedures are generally sound, Asali and Dillon are duly appointed federal officials.
Are they, though?
Yes. They are utilizing established DOJ procedures to ensure ineligible individuals like non-citizens aren't diluting legal votes. Having prosecutors physically present to audit the process ensures transparency where it matters most.
We really have to question the structural integrity of the prosecutors themselves here.
What do you mean?
Well, a federal judge previously ruled that Asali had unlawfully continued serving as acting U.S. attorney without Senate confirmation.
Right, which disqualified him from supervising criminal cases. That left him strictly as first assistant. But he still wields significant administrative authority.
Administrative authority, yes, but when you combine that diminished structural mandate with pressure from former President Trump, who recently claimed Democrats were trying to steal the primary without providing any evidence.
Well, the evidence is what they're looking for.
But they're starting with the conclusion. Add in Dillon's background as a former Republican National Committee woman and Trump 2020 legal advisor, these probes are inherently compromised. Even Steve Hilton, the Republican gubernatorial candidate supposedly being stolen from, admitted his team has seen nothing to warrant legal action.
That brings us right back to the core tension, though. Regardless of the political rhetoric, federal laws explicitly grant the Department of Justice the power to audit state voter rolls.
If they have cause.
The structural shift to universal mail-in voting requires independent federal verification. It's simply necessary to maintain electoral integrity.
While my view remains that California already possesses stringent, transparent ballot verification procedures, deploying federal prosecutors based on unsubstantiated claims recklessly erodes public confidence in secure democratic institutions.
We certainly both agree that accurate voter rolls and public trust are paramount.
Absolutely. But whether California's current system is inherently vulnerable and whether these probes are a legitimate audit or a politicized overreach, well, that remains our fundamental disagreement.
Right. We suggest our listeners keep an eye on the upcoming Ninth Circuit rulings to better understand this evolving balance of power. It brings us right back to that ledger. Who ultimately holds the authority to demand the books, and at what cost to local trust?
There's definitely much more to explore in this material as the situation develops.
If you found this episode valuable, please like, subscribe, share, follow, and turn on notifications. It helps us continue bringing you content like this and ensures you never miss future releases.